Hello and welcome to the Futures Lab. So we have our winning screen, which looks like this, and we have our losing screen that looks like this. And one thing that we did last week was we made sure that our text was separate from our backgrounds. Now at the time you might have wondered why, and this week is going to become clear why we've done that. What we are going to do is we are going to animate this text in two different styles depending on whether we lose or win. The losing text is going to slightly pulse and get slightly larger and smaller, and the winning text is going to be a lot more hyperactive in the way that it moves. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go to our game over text sprite, make sure that you're there, and make sure that you're looking at the code. So we're going to first do the pulsing animation for the when I receive you lose. So look for when I receive you lose. I'm going to zoom in on it so you guys can see it a bit better. Okay, now what we're going to do is we are going to go to control. We're going to get out a forever loop and put that underneath switch costume to lose, and then we are going to get out a repeat 10. Now you can change some of these numbers if you like, but see what it looks like and then you can have a bit of a play with changing some of the parameters. We're going to make this a repeat 5. Then we're going to go to the looks category. We're going to get a change size by 10, but we're going to change that 10 to -1. And we're going to make this happen a little bit slower so it looks kind of lower energy. So we're going to go to control, get out a wait 1 seconds and put that right underneath the change size by -1, but change that 1 into a 0.1 because waiting 1 second is a bit too slow, too slow. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're actually going to copy this whole repeat 5. So right click on the repeat 5, normal click on where it says duplicate, and then just drop it so that both of the repeat 5s are right on top of each other so that they aren't sucked up into each other like this. They're right in perfect line, neither one of them inside the other. And then what we need to do is we need to get this change size by -1 in the second of the repeat 5s, so this one here, and change that into a 1. Now we're messing with the size of our game over text here, so we need to make sure that at the beginning of the game the size returns back to normal. So we're going to go to the looks category, and in your code look for when green flag clicked, and then over in our purple category looks, get out set size to 100% and put it underneath the code that we have in when green flag clicked, so that we always have the same starting position. Alright, now you might already have some code in, I believe we left in the game over sprite. That means that when you press space, it either sets lives or card counter to 0. So just make sure you've got these codes here: when space key pressed, set lives to 0, and when A key pressed, set card counter to 0. This is what's going to allow us to quickly test our losing and winning screens. These are cheat codes that will instantly lose the game or win the game. So I've set A to be instantly winning the game, and so let's see what happens when I hit spacebar now. Okay, so now we've got this kind of you lose slowly pulsating. Alright, so you could have a bit of a play with this code if you wanted. You could mess around with maybe a ghost effect if you wanted to kind of make it look like it was fading in and out. Make sure that you are reversing whatever effects you use. so that it's cycling backwards and forwards and not slowly becoming more and more ghostly and then just disappears, or something like that. But for now, we're going to move on and do something a bit more high energy. We're going to do a you win animation. So look for when I receive you win under that, and the code that's under that, we are going to go to control and get out another forever. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go to the looks category, the purple category, and we're going to get out set size. We're going to put that into our forever loop. And then we're going to get out a set color effect to 0. And then we're going to go to the dark blue category motion. And we're going to get a point in direction 90. So now what we are going to do is put in some slightly random number generators to slightly randomize these numbers. So we're going to go to operators, the green category, and we're going to look for pick random 1 to 10. So pull that out, and first of all put it into our set size to 100%. Now I had a bit of a play with these numbers, and you can choose some slightly different numbers, but I like how 80, pick random 80 to 110 looks. So let's give that a test, shall we? Okay, that's kind of flickering and kind of looking very high energy. Let's change its angle as well. Let's make it kind of so that it tilts slightly. So what we're going to do is we're going to get out a pick random, and we're going to drop this in our point in direction 90. But before we do, let's just remind ourselves, if we have this point in direction 90, it's the right way up. So if we want to tilt it just slightly so that it can still be read, we want it to be a little bit below 90 and a little bit above 90. So you don't need to go crazy with this, but you can have a bit of an experiment, see what you like. I'm going to put in pick random 85 to 95. So that will be somewhere still around about the point where the you win is not like upside down or twisted around or something like that. So that seems good. So we're going to test that now. I'm going to hit my button to do the you win. Okay, that seems pretty good. I like that. And when we start, again, it's going to, we've already got our code in to make sure that it's the right way up, that it starts at that same position, at 90 degrees. Actually, we may not need to, so that's fine, that doesn't matter. If we were to mess around with tilting these instead of pointing in direction, then what we would need to do is at the beginning of the game set it back to 90 so that we again had that starting position so that it was like spinning around or whatever. But we actually don't need to in this case because of the way that we've designed it. Now the last one, this one's optional. This one may hurt your eyes, it may even cause seizures. We're going to do some flashing lights, which games sometimes do. If yours is going to be really serious, you might need to, no joke, put an epilepsy warning in your game. So if you are prone to epilepsy right now, maybe be careful. And if you plan on doing this in your game, again, be aware that's a thing. A lot of games that feature flashing lights have those kind of warnings. So let's have a look at set color effect to 0, and let's drop in our pick random. I'm going to set it to pick random 0 to 100, and that's going to flicker it between a bunch of different colors. Now we might need to do a little bit of playing around with the color of the you win text before it works, but for now let's see what happens. Yeah, not much of anything, because the you win text is set at like sort of, it's set at a very dark color. So let's go into costumes and let's look for the you win text. So if you do want to have these changing colors, do this, but this is optional. You might be happy with it as it is with the black text. What I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the brightness up to 100 in the color of you win, and here we have now this big flashing kind of party different colors. And you can experiment if you want, change the brightness of this text down a little bit and it should become a little bit less colorful. Oh, let me make sure I've got it properly selected before I change the brightness. So yeah, you can decide. I'm gonna make it, shall we try maybe not full brightness but close to it? And maybe we'll just go all the way. Yeah, that seems pretty good. I'm happy with that. Okay, so we've got our text animated. There's one more style of animation I want to do when you win or lose the game, and that is I want to create this falling cards animation. So what we're going to do for that is we are going to draw a new sprite. So we're going to go to the bottom right corner, hover over that cat face and move up to where it says paint, but we're not going to put anything into this just yet. We're going to rename this sprite as falling cards animation. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're going to go to the card sprite, and I'm going to click on let's say the apple card, and I'm going to drag that and drop it on top of the falling card sprite, and do the same thing with banana, the same thing with orange, and the same thing with watermelon. And if you have different cards, then just do it with your cards, and you'll notice it's transferred all of these costumes across. This is a really useful thing to do when you have a costume you really like and you want to copy it from one sprite to another. So we've got a costume 1 that we don't want, so I'm just going to delete this costume 1. So that looks good. Okay, so now we're going to go to our code for our falling card sprite. And one thing we might need to do is also adjust the size of our falling card sprite. Can you see this is so much larger than our other cards? So our other cards are set to the size is 50. Let's do the same for the size of our falling card sprite. So just highlight the size and change it to 50. Okay, so first things first, we don't want this random other sprite just hanging out here. We need it to be hidden until we need it to be shown. So we're going to go to control, no, we're going to go to events, we're going to drag out a when green flag clicked. Then we're going to go to looks, the purple category, and we're going to drag out a hide. And then what we're going to do is, so there's two ways you can do this. You can either make a new broadcast, like falling cards animation broadcast, and put it above the if in our game over code, or we can use the broadcasts we've already got. We've already got a you win broadcast and a you lose broadcast. I'm going to choose option B. You can choose option A if you want. So we're going to go to control. In fact, we're going to go to events. We're going to pull out when I receive. We're going to click on this white triangle, and we're going to take out when I receive, you lose. Then we're going to go to get a forever and put it underneath when I receive, you lose. We're going to go to the dark blue category, motion, and we're going to get out a go to XY. So we've got our X and our Y. Now what we're going to do is we're going to create cards at the top of the screen, and we're going to make them slowly fall to the bottom of the screen behind our text. So we're going to need to set our Y to be 200. or something around about that number to make sure that our falling card at the top of the screen, and then we want to move this falling cards animation sprite backwards and forwards in random places, and it's going to be making clones of itself, and those clones are going to be falling down to the bottom of the screen. So we're going to go to operators, the green category. We're going to drag out pick random. We're going to put it into our X, and we're going to say, let's say minus 240 is the lowest number and 240 is the highest number. Then we're going to go to control, and we're going to get out a create clone of myself and a wait 0.3 seconds. Okay, so this is all looking pretty good. What we're going to do now is we're going to copy this whole thing. We're going to right click on when I receive you lose, duplicate it, move it off somewhere by itself, because we also want to do this when we win. Now this will allow you to maybe change one of these, one and not the other, and then that way you have maybe more cards or less cards depending whether you've won or lost, or you can have the falling cards animation only happen as a reward when you win. It's up to you. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we need to put some code into these clones that we are making of our falling cards. So we are going to go to when I start as clone. We're going to pull that out of our control codes, and we're going to put underneath that, we're going to go to looks, the purple category, and we're going to get switch costume to, and we need to also show. Let's go to the control and pull out a repeat 10 and put it underneath the show. We are going to repeat something not 10 times but 100 times. And also with this switching costume to, let's put another random number generator in that. Let's go to operators. Let's pull out pick random 1 to 4 and put that into our switch costume. So now we're going to go to the blue category motion, and we're going to get out a turn 15 degrees, but we're going to change it to 1 degree. And then we need to make our cards fall down. So we're going to get out a change Y by 10. But 10 is going to make it go up quite fast. We want it to come down, so we're going to change that 10 into a minus and 5, let's say. I quite like these numbers. You can have an experiment with different numbers if you like. There's only 2 more things we need to do. The first is, I like the idea of these cards slowly fading away as they fall. So let's go to looks, and let's get out change color effect, but let's click that white triangle and change to ghost, and then change ghost effect by 1. So it will repeat 100 times, turn slightly, fall down slightly, increase ghost by 1, and when the ghost effect reaches 100, it will be totally invisible. And at that point, we should probably delete it, otherwise we'll have a bunch of invisible sprites in the bottom of the screen, which will mean that eventually we will fill up the number of clones we can have, and the game will stop making new clones, and the animation will stop, which is not what we want. So let's go to control, look at the very bottom of our control codes, and pull out delete this clone. Okay, so that was a lot. Let's see if it works, shall we? So we start the game, that's good. Let's try out what happens if we win. And we have all of these falling cards. Now there's this cool kind of effect where it looks like they we've got all the different types of cards that we have. They kind of glide to the bottom, and they almost look like they bounce a little bit off the bottom of the screen, and then they only just hang around just for a little bit and then delete themselves. So let's try what happens if we lose. Now, can you see that the you lose is kind of jaunty? This is something that I mentioned before. it's on a slight angle. It's kind of slightly crooked. Now, I don't actually hate that. I think that actually looks kind of cool. So if you like it, if you're happy with that, you don't need to change it. It's going to be slightly different each time depending on what angle you left the text on last time you won. But if you want to fix it, this is what we need to do. We need to go to the game over text sprite, and we need to make sure that point in direction 90 is either underneath when I receive you lose, or it's underneath when green flag clicked. Either is fine. And if you really like the angle, like of you lose being like crooked as it's flashing, you can decide. You can get point in direction and then set it to like 95 if you want. Just type in like 95, and that way every time you lose the game, it will always be on that same angle. I'm going to set it to not be to be point in direction 90. I'm going to put that right underneath when I receive you lose, so that it's kind of a bit more straight on, and I like the way that looks. So we just spent some time doing some animations this week. I hope that was fun for you all. Next week is a surprise, but we're going to do some more expandability. We've had a few really nice suggestions from the YouTube comments, so tune in next week to see how we're going to expand our memory game a little bit more. We're getting close to the end, I think, of this particular project. And then we can move on to a new project. So if there's any more projects you'd like us to do in the future, then feel free to leave a comment. Let me know what you would like us to cover in a future tutorial. As always, you can subscribe and ring the bell, and that way you will get a notification when we have new episodes out, and you'll also get a notification if we do any live streams in the future. A few people have been asking next time we're going to live stream. I don't know, it all depends on the schedule. With the Futures Lab project at City of Swan Libraries. As always, if you live in Perth, Australia, check out the description and you'll see all of our library activities in the City of Swan here. But until I see you guys again, stay awesome, be cool to each other, and take care of yourselves. We'll see you next time, ninjas.